Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. Ford engineer Doug Martin has developed a system that collects AC condensation and lets you drink the water from a tap on your dashboard. But first, the water is routed through a filter that removes any organic particulate contaminants. You gotta be really thirsty to drink some car water. It's actually possible to get slivers or splinters just like wood ones from hair. They're actually very common with dog groomers and hairstylists. Basketball stars LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Magic Johnson all donated millions of dollars to the Muhammad Ali exhibit at the Smithsonian. The largest living organism in the world is located in the Malheur National Forest. It's called the Armillaria ostoyae, or the humongous fungus. It covers 2,385 acres. That's a whole lot of fungus. Kind of gross. Galileo's preserved middle finger is on display at the Museo Galileo in Florence, Italy. It stands eternally, giving the bird in the general direction of the church that once censored his theories, destroyed his good name, imprisoned him in his home, refused for nearly a century to give the man the decent burial that he was due, and for 350 years neglected to grant him any honor. Who was responsible for positioning his hand like that? Because they go to hell too. It's actually possible for rabbits to die of fright. Loud sounds like dogs barking, loud music, or screaming can lead to a heart attack and put a rabbit into shock, causing sudden death. A tomato has 25% more genes than humans. The simple tomato has 31,760 genes, while we only have about 20,000 genes. However, keep in mind that the amount of genetic material does not indicate how advanced an organism is. Which you probably already figured. I mean, we don't have tomato overlords walking around, do we? Edmonton's La Poutine restaurant and food truck collaborated with the Wild Prairie Soap Company and came up with a poutine-flavored lip balm. You cannot make this stuff up. Inspired by KFC making a fried chicken-scented sunscreen, the lip balm has been sold out almost everywhere since its creation. There's a spider that scientists discovered in November of 2016 in southwestern China's Yunnan rainforest that can make itself look like a dangling dried up leaf. The leaf-mimicking spider employs a strategy called masquerading, or pretending to look like something else in order to protect itself. Think about that next time you go jump in a pile of leaves. The reason that pool tables are covered in green felt is because the original game of billiards was played on lawns outside. Play then moved indoors to a wooden table with green cloth to simulate grass. When actress Jodie Foster was only 8 years old, she was attacked by a lion and carried briefly in its mouth while filming Disney's Napoleon in Samantha. Needless to say, she's had a fear of cats ever since. Elvis Presley had a chimpanzee named Scatter. It's a little known fact that the king had a great love of animals. In fact, Elvis had countless pets over the course of his life, including dogs, horses, birds, and more. The only mounted whale in the world, known as the Malm whale, is on display in Sweden's Natural History Museum. It was found stranded on rocks on October 29, 1865, when it swam too close to land in Askim Bay, south of Gothenburg. It was over 52 feet long and weighed around 25 tons. It's estimated that 46 million turkeys are eaten every Thanksgiving in America. Also a fun fact, that same 88% go into a food coma. I'm one of them. There's no time zone in Antarctica, so scientists that live there while doing research usually go by the time zone from their homeland. In addition, because of how Antarctica is situated, daylight savings is useless. Most of the area experiences 24 hours of sunlight during the summertime and 24 hours of night during the winter. That sounds like hell. The same goes for the Arctic, although most of the North Pole is nothing but water and sea ice. And maybe a couple seals. The dark gray color seen by the eyes in perfect darkness is the result of signals from the optic nerves and is called Eigengrau. There's an alarm clock called Sensor Wake that uses aromas of your choice to make you wake up instead of sound. You can be awoken by scents such as cut grass, hot croissant, chocolate, espresso, or peppermint. Actor Matthew McConaughey's older brother Michael, known as Rooster, named his son Miller Lite after his favorite beer. Okay, some people should just not be allowed to procreate. Clap hand emojis. There's a very rare condition known as dystichiasis, where someone has 2 layers of eyelashes. They can actually be painful and should be removed. However, even through electrolysis, they will likely grow back. When cauliflower grows quickly, they create a loud creaking sound because their florets rub together. This is actually a thing. It's known as cauliflower creak. American Express started out in 1850 as a freight and valuables delivery service. The brand new US Postal Service was unreliable at the time and only allowed shipment of letter-sized envelopes. This provided a business opening for the company to ship larger parcels, but the company ultimately took a turn when it began to realize more profit from a sector of its customer base that included banks and other financial institutions. Artist Grant Wood, who painted American Gothic, used his sister Nan and his dentist Dr. Byron McKeeby as his models. And the house actually exists in Eldon, Iowa. I wonder if they were that grumpy in real life. Stoic. John H. Jack Cover, one of the inventors of the taser, named it after his literary hero, Tom Swift. In fact, taser is an acronym for Thomas A. Swift's electric rifle. Cover just added the A to Tom Swift's name. Singer Otis Redding whistled the last verse of the hit song Sitting on the Dock of the Bay because he didn't have the words written for it when it was recorded. He did plan to fill in the verse, but he died in a plane crash just 3 days after recording it before he had the chance. But the producer decided to leave the whistling in because he liked it. The replica ship that they used in the film Pirates of the Caribbean, known as the Bounty, sank off the coast of North Carolina during Hurricane Sandy. In November of 2015, Pope Francis actually released an album called Wake Up that features his speeches set to rock, pop, and Gregorian chants. I'm telling you, man, you can't make this stuff up. The original Three Musketeers candy bar was invented back in 1932 in the United States by M&M Mars. It was originally packaged as 3 individual mini bars of chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry nougat, hence the name. Sesame Street's Cookie Monster's real name is Sid. In fact, in 2010, Cookie Monster tweeted, and I quote, "Me wasn't born with name Cookie Monster, it just nicknamed that stuck. Me don't remember real name. Maybe it was Sydney." Sesame Street, you can hit me up if you need a voice actor. Clearly, I'm very good at it. The M's in M&M's stand for the last names of the candy's founders, Mars and Murray. Same goes for the Mars bar itself, although it wasn't originally named that by its creator Frank Mars, but by his son Forrest Mars. The Kollima, a mythical winged horse, is the national animal of North Korea, and they probably believe that Kim Jong-un gives birth to them daily. It wouldn't surprise me. The world's only underwater post office is located at the Hideaway Island Resort and Marine Sanctuary in Port Vila, Vanuatu. Snorkelers and divers can post special waterproof postcards in 10 feet of water. There's a museum in Chichibu, Japan called Chinsekikan, which means Hall of Curious Rocks, that has almost 2,000 rocks that resemble human faces. 1 in about every 8,500 people are born with something called situs inversus, which is where their organs in their chest and abdomen are in perfect mirror image reversal of their normal positioning. Their heart is on the right and liver and spleen are on the left. Brian May, the guitarist from the band Queen, actually has a PhD in astrophysics. After abandoning his academic pursuits for 3 decades to become a rock star, he returned to school in 2007 to complete and receive his degree. The US's first satellite, Explorer 1, was launched into space on January 31st, 1958. It was about twice the size of a basketball and only weighed 30 pounds. Thurl Ravenscroft, who was the voice of Kellogg's Tony the Tiger, was also the man who sang "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" in the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Hawaiian Punch was originally developed as an ice cream topping in 1934 and only later became the tropical fruit drink when consumers discovered how good it was as a drink when mixed with water. Elephants are known to favor one tusk over the other, making one shorter than the other. Kind of like how humans are right and left-handed. A violin contains over 70 separate pieces of wood. According to the Guinness World Records, Svetlana Pankratova from Russia holds the record for the female with the longest legs in the world. Her legs measured 4.3 feet long as of July 8th, 2003. That's a huge bit. No, I'm not going to be disrespectful, but seriously, she's a giant. The Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt is the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world that still exists. The rest, including the Colossus of Rhodes, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, the Temple of Artemis, and the Statue of Zeus, were all destroyed. Only 2 US presidents have been impeached so far, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. Neither were convicted of charges filed against them. Britannic, the sister ship of the Titanic, was sunk during World War I. Britannic was improved after the Titanic sank, but it still sank in only 55 minutes. You can tell a hard-cooked egg from a raw egg simply by spinning it. If it spins easily, it's hard-cooked. If it wobbles, it's raw. The name salamander comes from the Greek word fire lizard. It came about when salamanders came running out of logs that had been thrown on a fire. More than 1,000 elephants were used to transport the materials needed to build the Taj Mahal. Soap operas, or soaps, are called such because years ago the shows were predominantly sponsored by soap companies. They were mostly on during the day, and it was a way for advertisers to reach their main demographic, which was the housewife. The world's largest ketchup bottle is nearly 69 feet tall, perched on top of a 100-foot tall steel tower located in Collinsville, Illinois. It's the water tower at the Old Brooks Ketchup plant and headquarters. And Collinsville holds the world's largest ketchup bottle festival every single year. It's possible to get a university degree in surfing. Hockey pucks were originally made out of cow dung. What a way to end. There are tumors called limbal dermoids that can grow on the eyeball. They can contain things such as connective tissue, skin, fat, hair, teeth, cartilage, and even bone. We're starting off with nightmares. Excellent. Giant anteaters don't have teeth, but they have tongues that can grow to be 2 feet in length that are covered in tiny spines that point to the back of their throat. It's also coated with a thick, sticky saliva. When they have an insect in their mouth, they crush them against the upper palate to ease digestion. In the 1970s, notorious serial killer Ted Bundy once worked at a suicide hotline crisis center with famous true crime author Anne Rule. She actually wrote a book about it called The Stranger Beside Me. Makes you kind of wonder about that weird guy in the office, doesn't it? According to the Guinness World Records, on March 30th, 2003, in Bangalore, India, Siddharaju S. Raju husked a 2.3 foot round 10-pound coconut using only his teeth. Scientists in Costa Rica have discovered a new frog that they call Diane's bare-hearted glass frog that looks exactly like Jim Henson's Muppet, Kermit the Frog. This one can't sing though. The Mimosa pudica, or touch-me-not plant that is native to Central and South America, plays dead when it feels threatened. If it's touched by a predator, its stems release a chemical that causes leaves to shrivel up. Once the danger has passed, it comes back to life. There is a Miss Klingon Empire beauty pageant held in Atlanta, Georgia as part of the annual Tech Tracks convention. The contestants all dress up in Klingon attire and makeup and are judged on beauty, talent, and personality. You like my face? Vote for me. The capital city of Bhutan in the Himalayas is the only capital city in the world that does not have traffic lights. Instead, policemen stand in little pavilions and direct traffic with exaggerated hand motions. You that away, you that away. Lake Karachay in Russia is the most polluted place on Earth. It was used by the Soviet Union as a nuclear dumping site, and the radiation levels are so high that it can give a lethal dose of radiation in just 1 hour of exposure. A Burger King franchise in Queens, New York covered their building with a huge white drape and turned itself into a ghost version of a McDonald's as a Halloween prank. The marquee out front read, "Boo! Just kidding, we still flame grill our burgers. Happy Halloween!" Ooh, shade by the Burger King. This is good. It's gonna be on World Star. Akiyoshi Kabe of Waseda University in Japan has developed the Jukusi-kun, whose name translates to deep sleep. It's a pillow bot in the shape of a polar bear that can gauge snoring levels and will touch the snorer to get them to roll their heads to help them stop snoring. It monitors snoring with a built-in mic and a device worn around the wrist that measures blood oxygen levels, which happen to drop when the person starts snoring. There's a Japanese artist called Keisuke Yamada who creates amazing carvings out of bananas using only a spoon and a toothpick. Dutch designer Jeffrey Heelgers has created posture garments to prevent hunched backs. He worked with a physiotherapist to identify positions that cause back, neck, and shoulder pain, and created clothes that tighten slightly and become uncomfortable when the wearer slumps their shoulders. I'm not gonna lie, I could probably use this. I'm like the hunchback all day. Ancient Egyptians believed that mushrooms were the plant of immortality. In fact, the pharaohs of Egypt decreed that mushrooms were food for royalty and no commoner could even touch them. Little did they know they were just a nasty fungus. There's a website called Something Store that for $10 will randomly select an item and send it to you. You only know what your $10 gets you once the item has been delivered. There are actually companies that exist that will send a potato with a message written on it for you to anyone you want. For just $10, Potato Parcel in Canada will print literally anything you want on it, from congrats on the baby to I still love you. What better way to show your love than a potato, huh? New Zealand has two national anthems of equal standing. One is God Defend New Zealand and the other is God Save the Queen. God Save the Queen has been New Zealand's official anthem all the way back to 1840, but it's rarely actually sung in the country. There is a bronze statue of a spider by artist Louise Bourgeois called Mama in front of the National Gallery of Canada in Ottawa. It cost a whopping $3.2 million, measures 30 feet high, and weighs over 13,000 pounds, and even comes with 26 white marble eggs in a sack on its underbelly. Burn it, destroy it, get rid of it now. The common pygmy seahorse, or Bargibant seahorse, is one of the tiniest known vertebrates. It's an expert at camouflage and has a maximum length of just 1 inch. I'm a little seahorse, short and stout. In 2016, the Chicago Cubs won the World Series for the first time in 108 years. Serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who killed 33 boys and young men in the 70s, was dubbed the Killer Clown because he used to perform as someone called Pogo the Clown at children's events. In fact, while in jail, he even painted several self-portraits of himself as a clown, and although most were destroyed, some still exist and are quite valuable. Lightning often strikes the same place repeatedly, especially if it's a tall, pointy, isolated object. The Empire State Building is hit on average 23 times a year. The sun is made up of 74% hydrogen, 24% helium, and the remaining 2% includes trace amounts of iron, nickel, oxygen, and all the other elements that we have in our solar system. The French bulldog actually originated in England. It wasn't until he accompanied English lace makers to France where he acquired his French moniker. According to the World Health Organization, the only continent that doesn't have rabies is the Antarctic, and 95% of human deaths that occur in Africa and Asia are caused by rabies. The first ever sewing needles were made of bone. Developed about 35,000 years ago by early humans, it's believed that bone needles were preferred over metal as a sewing tool because metal tended to rust and stain the fabric that it was used on. Come here, Jeffrey, mother's got to make a sweater. Break your finger off, would you? The bald eagle can live for up to 50 years. According to research done by the Royal Society for Public Health, the average UK commuter consumes nearly 800 additional calories a week while traveling to and from work, a result mostly from consuming unhealthy snacks. You can now buy Harry Potter inspired makeup brushes. The set of 5 brushes are modeled after the infamous wands of Harry, Ron, Hermione, Dumbledore, and Lord Voldemort. Voldemort. A group of kittens with the same mother is called a Kindle. The Republic of Madagascar is the 4th largest island in the world. It's 364,745 miles. The only larger islands are Borneo, Greenland, and New Guinea. Some salamanders have no lungs. They survive because they breathe entirely through their skin and the tissue lining their mouths. Their skin and mouths must keep moist in order to respire, so they are only found in damp areas. Magician and escape artist Harry Houdini was one of the world's first private pilots. He actually crashed during his maiden flight in Germany, but he continued practicing and eventually set his sights on becoming the first man to pilot an airplane in Austria. In China, if you're caught cheating on exams, you get banned from repeating the test for several years. And if you're caught facilitating mass cheating or paying someone to take the test for you, you can be sent to jail for 7 years. California's state motto is Eureka, I have found it. It refers to the discovery of God and appears on the state seal. The average length of an umbilical cord is about 20 inches. There is a mental disorder called walking corpse syndrome or Cotard syndrome, where patients experience delusions that they're dead, don't exist, are putrefying, or have lost their vital organs. I've lost my lungs, bury me somewhere nice! According to the Guinness World Records, the largest snail ever found weighed 2 pounds and measured 15.5 inches from snout to tail. It was found in Sierra Leone in 1976. Its name was G. Geronimo. In November of 2016, the world's heaviest earthworm was found in a man named Paul Reese's vegetable garden in Cheshire County, England. Paul's son named the worm Dave. Dave was almost 16 inches long and weighed nearly 29 grams, which is almost twice as heavy as any other earthworm ever found. The Suriname toad gives birth through holes in her back. Oh god. They develop eggs embedded in their backs and eventually they hatch and crawl out of the holes. Moving on. James Madison, the 4th president of the United States, was the shortest president. He was only 5.3 feet tall and weighed about 100 pounds. The Pentagon was built with extra bathrooms to accommodate racial segregation laws. There is a rare condition called aquagenic urticarial that causes sufferers to break out in hives when their skin comes in contact with water. The water can be any temperature and scientists are baffled as to what causes it. In the 1920s, inventor Thomas Edison tried to invent a spirit phone to contact the dead. Although much of the public thought he was joking, he really did want to create an ethereal device that would summon to the living the voices of the dead and record them for posterity. The world's oldest restaurant is the Sobrino de Botin. Located in Madrid, it was founded in 1725 by French cook Jean Botin and his wife. Peanuts can be used in the making of dynamite. Peanut oil can be processed to produce glycerol, which can be used to make nitroglycerin, which is a liquid used in dynamite. And you thought it was just a fun way to make dogs look like they're talking. Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin took communion on the moon. His pastor consecrated a communion wafer and a small vial of communion wine. He read a verse from the Gospel of John while there. There is a very rare white zebra at Hawaii's 3-Ring Ranch Animal Sanctuary named Zoe. She has a condition known as amylonosis that gives her light golden stripes and blue eyes. On June 27, 2016, Norway held the largest bonfire ever, setting a new world record. The massive bonfire measured 155 feet in the air. Scientist Marie Curie, who discovered radium in 1898, was the first woman to receive a PhD from a French university, the first woman to be employed as a professor at the University of Paris, the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and also the first person ever to win the award twice for 2 distinct scientific scientific fields. According to the Guinness World Records, the largest gingerbread man ever made was made by IKEA in Oslo, Norway on November 9th, 2009. It weighed an astonishing 651 kilograms and was all baked in one piece. Anybody got a big ass cup of cocoa? Cause Maddie's hungry. Amish kids only go to school until the 8th grade. The biggest reason for this is practicality. The Amish feel that formal school learning can only provide limited value as they emphasize agriculture as well as manual trades. And beards, can't forget the beards. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart had an older sister named Maria Anna who was also a child prodigy. In fact, they performed together until she turned 18 years old. Back in those days, a child could perform and tour, but a woman risked her reputation so she never toured again. There's a British cat named Kobe the Cat on Instagram that has over 1.1 million followers. Okay, I need to get on that cat's level. Meh. Israeli and Australian researchers discovered that a small concentration of Viagra dissolved in a base of water can double the shelf life of flowers, making them stand up straight for as long as a week beyond their natural lifespan. Yep, it's a thing. Hashtag flower boner. The University of Wisconsin Green Bay is telling students that they have been accepted at the university by sending them a Snapchat. Wait, what did that say? What did it say? I missed it. In the state of Florida, the prison's executioner is an anonymous private citizen who's paid $150 per execution. The therapy bills alone on that one, ooh. In October 2016, thousands of natural snowballs showed up on a beach in Serbia. They spanned 17.7 kilometers and ranged in size from tennis balls up to almost 1 meter. It's a rare phenomenon where pieces of ice form and then are rolled by wind and water until they become snowballs. This natural phenomenon is what's called everyday in Canada. In about 21% of identical twin pairs, one twin is right-handed and the other is either left-handed or ambidextrous. Hand preference is a classic example of the controversy over the relative importance of nature genetics versus nurture environment in causing a trait. Every December between finals and the end of the semester, volunteers at a dorm at the University of Illinois will sing you a Christmas carol if you call them. This has been a yearly event since 1960. All you have to do is call Dial a Carol at 217-332-1882 anytime and any day after finals and before the end of the semester, and they will sing you a carol request. Just keep in mind that they're not exactly professional, so they might be a bit off key. Researchers at the Smithsonian discovered that the central nervous systems or brain of the smallest spiders fill up almost 80% of their total body cavity, including 25% of their legs. Spiders be like, let me think about that. There's natural sugar in tobacco, but sugar is also sometimes added to tobacco manufacturing to create a sweeter smell and taste. The Amber Alert that is put out when a child goes missing came about after 9-year-old Amber Hagerman was kidnapped and murdered on January 13th, 1996. Local broadcasters and law enforcement came together to get information out quickly following a child's abduction. It's known nationwide as an Amber Alert, which stands for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. And to this day, Amber Hagerman's killer still hasn't been found. There are only 2 15-letter words that do not repeat a letter. One is dermatoglyphics and the other is uncopyrightable. Google announced that they will reach 100% renewable energy for their global operations, including their data centers and offices in 2017. That's a commitment of reaching 2.6 gigawatts or 2,600 megawatts of wind and solar energy. To put that into perspective, that's bigger than many large utility companies and more than twice as much as the 1.21 gigawatts that it took to send Marty McFly back to the future. The world's first meteorite-aged wine was launched by Ian Hutchin. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon called Meteorite that was aged with a 4.5 billion year old meteorite from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It was created in 2012 at his Tremont Vineyard in the Quechapel Valley in Chile. In December of 2016, the Alberta Canada Parks System had to issue a warning to motorists because there was an aggressive moose going around licking the sides of cars for salt. salt. Now, if you don't live in or haven't visited moose country and that all sounds silly to you, you may not realize that these animals can top 1.8 meters tall and weigh more than 680 kilograms. That's a whole lot of mammal to have hovering around your car door when you want to get in and drive home. The chimera, or ghost shark, lives in the part of the ocean that the sun can't reach. They don't have teeth and are dead-eyed, and the males have a retractable sex organ on their foreheads. Relatives of sharks and rays, these deep-sea creatures are a split off from other groups some 300 million years ago. Yeah, and somewhere evolution went terribly wrong. In 2016, Kentucky Fried Chicken released a scented candle that fills your house with the smell of fried chicken. The King of Hearts is the only king in a pack of cards without a mustache. There is suggestion that the kings were all based on historic figures, such as Charlemagne and Alexander the Great, and the King of Hearts is supposed to have been Charlemagne, though he is usually depicted as having a full beard and mustache. The sun is 1,391,000 kilometers across. This is about 109 times the diameter of Earth. If the planet Saturn was put in a bathtub, or a really large bathtub, it would float because it's mostly made up of gas. There was a plane called the Bumblebee 2 that is only 2.7 meters long, 1.22 meters high, and weighs only 180 kilograms empty. Yep, I would not trust that to fly. Less than 30% of China's airspace can be used by commercial airlines, compared to about 80% in the US. This could be why China's airports are the worst in the world when it comes to punctuality. According to the Guinness World Records, the longest burp was 1 minute 13 seconds 57 milliseconds and was achieved by Michelle Forgione from Italy at the 13th annual Rock Beer Festival. She achieved this on June 16, 2009. The bubbles in Guinness beer actually sink to the bottom rather than float to the top. The whale shark lays the largest egg of any other animal. The largest whale shark egg ever recorded measured almost 31 centimeters long, almost 14 centimeters wide, and just under 9 centimeters thick. Thailand holds a monkey buffet festival every year. It was invented in 1989 by a local businessman in order to boost tourism to the Lopburi province. It has 4,000 kilograms of fruits, vegetables, cakes, candies, and more that are set down in front of temples on tables for the 3,000 monkeys that live in the area. There are also people dressed like monkeys in monkey sculptures. The speed of light travels at just under 300,000 kilometers a second. Just for some context, that means if you were traveling at the speed of light, you would be able to whip around Earth 7.5 times per second. At Christmas time in Iceland, the people eat something called kiviak. This is the raw flesh of little ox, a type of Arctic bird, which has been buried whole in seal skin for several months until they have reached an advanced stage of decomposition. This is considered delicacy. Baby koalas eat a liquefied form of their mother's feces known as pap in order to give them the necessary microbes to digest the toxins in the eucalyptus that he needs to eat to survive. 1 megawatt of wind energy equals 2,600 fewer tons of carbon dioxide. The male African lion protects his pride's territory by marking it with urine. And there's a lot of it because the area can be as big as 259 square kilometers. The world's largest pine cones are created by tropical cycads known as Lepidosmia in Encephalartos. These African pine cones are almost 1 meter in length and weigh up to 45 kilograms. Good luck raking those off your lawn. The SIM in SIM card stands for Subscriber Identification Module. According to the Guinness World Records, the most expensive bottle of white wine is the Chateau d'Yquem from 1811, which was sold for $117,000 by the Antique Wine Company to Christian Vanik in January 18th of 2011. The domain name vacationrentals.com was bought for $35 million. The act of blowing smoke in someone's face can actually be considered for a case of assault and battery. The ballpoint pen is called a brio in England because it was invented by Hungarian newspaper journalist Laszlo Brio and his chemist brother. In Scandinavia, the holly plant that we use as a decoration at Christmas time is known as the Christ thorn. It's supposed to represent the thorns that Jesus wore when he was crucified, and the berries are the drops of blood. A male duck is called a drake. Quack. The device that measures blood pressure is called a sphygmomanometer. The only letter of the alphabet that doesn't appear on the periodic table at all is the letter J. In the 1970s, the CIA created a spy drone the size of a dragonfly to collect audio intelligence. It was called the Insectothopter, but ultimately the drone was scrapped because it couldn't withstand any type of crosswind while it was flying. The Ueno Zoo in Tokyo allows visitors a chance to sample the same foods that the animals eat. Momoko Healthy Lunch is an exact copy of the fruits, nuts, vegetables, and legumes fed to the zoo's lowland gorillas. Of course, it's portion size adjusted for humans. There is a rare plant called the cobra lily that can be found in Oregon and Northern California that lures insects into themselves with a sweet smell so they can eat them. They even have numerous see-through false exits that exhaust their victims as they try to escape. The first time a woman of England was crowned as queen with a coronation ceremony was in the 10th century CE. She was Queen Elfrida, the wife of King Edgar the Peaceable. The short-finned pilot whale and the orca or killer whale both go through menopause. A rare first edition of Sir Isaac Newton's Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica sold for $3.7 million in 2016. Because of years of habitat destruction and poaching, the giraffe is in the vulnerable category on the endangered species list for the first time ever starting in 2016. As of December 2016, Las Vegas was the largest US city and one of the few cities in the entire world to rely solely on green energy to power its municipal facilities. In Norway, every citizen's tax returns are posted online showing their total income and total taxes paid. If you want to check up how your neighbor can afford his new car, you can look up his income, but the catch is he will receive an email letting him know that you're snooping. I want to get those same emails every time someone's snooping my Instagram, ladies, I see you. Although most people call the clock and tower in London, England, Big Ben is actually the name of the large bell. Every year, Google receives more than 2 million job applications from around the world. As of February 2016, they have more than 60,000 employees. President-elect Donald Trump was the most Googled person in 2016 in over 88 countries. He attracted the most attention everywhere from India to Mexico to Belgium. Sign of the times, people. Sign of the times. In 1947, Hans Rettel of Austria got to the 4th round of the men's singles event at Wimbledon. This was a significant accomplishment since he only had one arm. He lost his arm during World War II. He competed at Wimbledon until 1956. Your big toe carries the most weight of all the toes on your foot, bearing about 40% of your total body's weight. I love you, big toe, doing all the heavy lifting. You the best. Mahatma Gandhi was married when he was only 13 years old. His bride was also 13. There are vending machines in Grenoble, France that will print out a free quick short story for you to read while you're on the bus or train. You're able to print out a 1, 3, or 5 minute story depending on how much time you have to kill. What if you're on the train for like an hour? Just keep printing them out. Just keep printing them out. Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong, Edwin E. Buzz Aldrin Jr., and Michael Collins are on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But their marker isn't in the shape of a star. It's round like the moon. If you open another browser right now and search the number 241-543-903 on Google Images, you get a bunch of pictures of people sticking their heads in a freezer. Try it. Michigan-based floral designer Susan McCleary makes jewelry out of plants. She designs jewelry out of succulents that you can wear for 2 to 4 weeks, and then you can transfer them to pots and keep them as plants. When Genghis Khan died, his successors killed anyone who witnessed his funeral procession. About 800 soldiers were massacred and 2,000 people as well, and the soldiers were then executed themselves in order to keep his burial place a secret. The location of his tomb is still unknown to this day. Nintendo is teaming up with Universal to create new Nintendo-themed areas at Universal Studios in Japan, Universal Orlando Resort, and Universal Studios Hollywood, where visitors will be able to feel like they are inside their favorite video games. Mario and Zelda World, I'm first in line, hook me up. I want to see Toadstool. In Finland, Santa rides on a straw goat named Ukko. In April of 2016, an octopus named Inky escaped from the National Aquarium in New Zealand. After the lid to his tank was left slightly open, he squeezed out and managed to find his way to one of the drain holes that took him back to the ocean. Octopuses are kind of like escape artists. A 45-kilogram octopus can squeeze through a space as small as an orange. I wish I could do the same with my jeans after a buffet, you know what I'm saying? In the United States, you will not be allowed into the armed forces if you are missing a toe. You have to have both feet totally intact, even though it's possible to run even without your big toe. It is possible to get heart cancer, although it is very rare. At the Mayo Clinic, only one case of heart cancer is seen each year. Author Stephen King sells the rights to some of his short stories for just $1, so that film students can use them to make movies. He refers to them as his dollar babies. All 1,361 kilograms of confetti that's thrown on New Year's Eve as the ball drops in Times Square is thrown by hand. On December 31st, 2016, for the 25th year in a row, Treb Henning, the Confetti King, and 112 volunteers stationed atop 7 Midtown buildings will unload the confetti at precisely 20 seconds before midnight. That seems like a lot of work. Just, oh God, get it all out. We only got 20 seconds. In ancient China, it was believed that seeing a spider dropping down from its web was really good luck. They felt that you would be blessed with gifts and good luck from heaven. It's even luckier if it's a white spider. I don't buy into this, no thanks. According to population estimates released in April of 2016 by the US Census Bureau, millennials ages 18 to 34 in 2015 have surpassed baby boomers 51 to 69 years old as the nation's largest living generation. There are now 75.4 million millennials and 74.9 million baby boomers. Generation X, ages 35 to 50 in 2015, is projected to pass the boomers in population by 2028. Anosmia is the complete loss of your sense of smell. And without your sense of smell, food tastes different. You can't smell perfume or the scent of a flower, and you could find yourself in a dangerous situation unknowingly. For example, you wouldn't be able to smell a gas leak, smoke from a fire, or even sour milk. This cottage cheese is delicious. It's milk? The average US dental student graduates with over $261,000 of debt. That's 4 times what it was in 1990. There's about 3,200 special agents and 1,300 uniformed officers that guard the White House, the Treasury Building, and foreign diplomatic missions in Washington, along with the First Family. They also provide security to the Vice President, the President-elect, the Vice President-elect, former presidents and their families, presidential candidates, visiting heads of state, and representatives of the US performing special missions overseas. Woo, they busy. Domino's in the United Kingdom and Ireland have created a no stains onesie that is covered in pictures of pizza that's wipeable. It also comes with 2 giant pockets to store your dips and drinks. It was introduced for New Year's Day 2017, one of the busiest pizza ordering days of the year. Think about that. You can wipe your grubby pizza covered hands all over it and it won't even leave a permanent stain. Financier J.P. Morgan's uncle wrote the holiday favorite Jingle Bells. James Lord Pierpont composed the music and wrote the lyrics. His older sister Juliet married millionaire Junius Spencer Morgan, and their oldest child, John Pierpont Morgan, followed his father into the banking and business world and became one of the most powerful financiers of the Gilded Age. Old Doyengo Langai in Tanzania holds the record for the volcano with the coolest lava. It It is the only volcano in the world known to have erupted carbonatite lava. Carbonatite is the coolest lava on Earth, erupting at 500 to 600 degrees centigrade. The lava is either black or brown and looks like runny mud. You can buy a 4K motion-activated Wi-Fi camera for your bird feeder called Bird Photo Booth that enables you to take close-up pictures and video of the birds that drop in for a meal. Look at all you bird lovers getting all excited. According to a study done by Fight Crime Invest in Kids, nearly 60% of boys who were classified as bullies in grades 6 to 9 were convicted of at least one crime by the age of 24. 40% had 3 or more convictions. A double fermentation process known as méthode champenoise is used to create champagne. It creates a lot of carbon dioxide that leads to an internal pressure of around 5 to 6 atmospheres. That's the equivalent of over 5 kilograms of weight on every square centimeter of glass. Because of this, champagne bottles are much thicker and heavier, and their corks are held on by wire cages to prevent premature cork popping. The Lockheed Martin C-5 is the largest plane in the Air Force. It is so large it is able to transport entire submarines. The US Navy have boats that don't require a captain. They're called swarm boats and are a project being developed by the Office of Naval Research. They use a radar system to communicate with one another and are designed to overwhelm and confuse the enemy. The first known photograph of the White House was taken in 1846 by civil engineer, entrepreneurial photographer, and immigrant from Wales, John Plum Jr. While California and France have banned the use of single-use plastic bags, non-biodegradable plastic plates, cups, and cutlery, the state of Michigan signed legislation in early January of 2017 banning the banning of plastic bags. It also prohibits counties or cities from outlawing disposable cups and other plastic containers. The ban was pushed by the Michigan Restaurant Association because they felt the ban would make it difficult for them to comply. According to the Cheetah Conservation Fund, before 1900, the cheetah population was over 100,000. Since then, however, the cheetah has gone extinct in more than 20 countries, with only 7,100 cheetahs remaining globally. According to France's Ministry of Environment, Energy and the Sea, they are paving more than 965 kilometers of road with solar panels that in 5 years will provide cheap, renewable energy to 5 million people. In December of 2016, measurable snow fell in the Sahara Desert for the first time since 1979. It fell in the Atlas Mountains in the northern edge of the Sahara Desert and stayed for about a day. During the early days of Hollywood, fake snow was commonly used in place of the real thing. Some of the things used were foamite, which is the material used in fire extinguishers, mixed with sugar, water, and soap flakes, corn flakes painted white, marble dust, salt and flour, and even cancer-causing substance asbestos. Researchers have discovered the oldest known pool of water on the planet while digging in a mine 3.22 kilometers below the Earth's surface. It's located in Ontario, Canada. The water has been there for nearly 2 billion years. A group of high school girls from Cape Town, South Africa, have designed and built the continent's first private satellite. It was launched into space of May of 2017 and collects information on agriculture and food security within the continent. Tear gas isn't really gas. It's a solid or liquid that gets turned into an aerosol. The most commonly used tear gas today is made of chili pepper oil. You can buy a fire extinguisher that you just throw at the fire to put it out. It's called the Alid Fireball. You literally just throw or roll the ball at the fire from a safe distance and it will self-activate after contacting fire for about 3 to 10 seconds, extinguishing it. Bigger fire? Throw more balls. Antarctica is the only continent that has no spiders. Okay, and moving to Antarctica. According to Netflix, their members streamed 42.5 billion hours of programming in 2015 alone, which is an increase from 29 billion hours in 2014, and they had 75 million subscribers at the end of 2015. According to the World Health Organization, between 2015 and 2050, the proportion of the world's population over 60 years old will nearly double from 12% to 22%, and 80% of those older people people will be living in low and middle income countries. Jim Carrey's Grinch suit was covered in yak hairs that were dyed green and sewn onto a spandex suit. The wings of a bat are made up of cartilage with small amounts of calcium. The bones are similar to our fingers but are more flexible. In 1977, Australia issued a very controversial stamp. It was the Surfing Santa 15-cent Christmas stamp designed by Roger Roberts. The drawing of Santa Claus riding a surfboard to deliver presents caused many complaints from people around Australia. In the Czech Republic, there is no Santa Claus or Father Christmas. Instead, children believe that baby Jesus brings them Christmas gifts. I guess that's equally believable. The show Stranger Things was rejected 20 times by different networks before finally being picked up by Netflix. During his 1963 tour with the Beatles, singer Roy Orbison, who had horrible eyesight and needed thick glasses, left his glasses on a plane before a show, which forced him to wear his ugly prescription sunglasses that night. But the look ended up becoming his trademark. In the 18th century, in the Gregorian period, women would cover blemishes like smallpox scars with little beauty patches known as moushes. They would often use small clippings of black velvet silk or satin. But the people who couldn't afford silk or satin had to use a piece of mouse skin. On January 4th, 2017, 105-year-old French cyclist Robert Marchand set a world record for distance cycled in just 1 hour at the velodrome just outside of Paris. He set the world record in the 105 plus age category, created especially for him by riding almost 23 kilometers in an hour. It takes about 600 years for a discarded fishing line to degrade in the ocean. There's a cooking trend in Japan called kawaii cooking. It's a form of miniature cooking. Using little stoves, pots, pans, and cooking utensils, people actually create mini edible cuisine using real-life ingredients that are cooked over a candle flame. There's a nursing home in the Netherlands called the Residential and Care Center Humanitas, where university students can live rent-free alongside elderly residents. In place of rent payments, the students are required to spend at least 30 hours per month with the elderly, doing such things as watching sports games, celebrating birthdays, and spending time in general with the residents that are ill. It's a project set up aimed at warding off the negative effects of aging. I have a feeling there's a lot of broke students that are definitely gonna do this. Everybody wins. Actor Shia LaBeouf cut his own face and had his dentist pull out one of his teeth to make the World War II movie Fury more realistic. Okay, that's dedication. Crazy, but dedication. In the late 18th century and early 19th century, parents of crying and colicky infants of children in England and the United States would give them something called Godfrey's cordial, also known as mother's friend. This lovely combination included opium, treacle, water, and spices to quiet them down. The European hare is the fastest land mammal in the United Kingdom. They can reach speeds over 72 kilometers per hour. There's a company called Artful Ashes that will swirl your loved one's cremated ashes with color into a glass decorative piece of art. Oh, that's Grandpa Jerry. Yeah, we chose red because he was always grumpy. In January of 2017, a new species of prehistoric otter that's 6.24 million years old was discovered in the Yunnan province in southwestern China by an international team of scientists from the United States, France, and China. It was named the Siamogale Melalutra and was about the size of a wolf and weighed a shocking 50 kilograms. For context, that's almost twice as large as the largest living otter. Scientists have created a 3D printer that uses a patient's own skin cells to print skin grafts, including hair follicles and sweat glands that can be used to treat burn victims. Does it work on bald people? In February of 2017, India successfully launched 104 satellites on a single mission from the Sriharikota Space Center in South India. This beating the previous record of only 37 satellites launched by Russia back in 2014. In Japan, it's women who do the gift giving on Valentine's Day. Men can choose to reciprocate or not a month later on White Day. Wait, You hear that? That's a lot of guys suddenly moving to Japan. In Korea, April 14th is known as Black Day. It's a day where single people who don't receive anything for Valentine's Day or White Day get together, dressed in black, and eat black noodles together. That sounds depressing. The ruggy is an alarm clock disguised as a rug. It forces you to get out of bed because it has a sensor that will only turn off the alarm once you've stepped on it for at least 3 seconds. It not only wakes you up, but it has speakers that will deliver motivational quotes that you can choose to start your day right. San Francisco is the first city in the United States to offer free college since the fall of 2017. In November of 1960, 6-year-old Ruby Nell Bridges became the first African-American child to attend an all-white public elementary school in the American South. She had to be escorted to school by federal marshals for her safety and spent the first year as the only student in her class. In the summer of 2017, Taco Bell's flagship restaurant in Las Vegas began allowing people to get married inside their restaurant. They even have a wedding chapel on the 2nd floor for nuptials. And do you, John, take this gordita? I do. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 6 US adults binge drinks about 4 times a month. Every February, the Takini Hot Pools in Whitehorse, Yukon, Canada hosts a hair freezing contest. Visitors dunk their hair in hot water of about 40 degrees Celsius and then let it freeze in the chilly air above, which can easily dip below -30 degrees Celsius. The wackiest hairdo and whoever doesn't die wins. In February of 2017, a new dating app came out called Hater. It matches people based on their mutual dislikes instead of their mutual likes. Some topics covered are Donald Trump, gluten-free, camping, marijuana, butt selfies, and Taylor Swift. There is a World Mountain Bike Bog Snorkeling Championship in Wales where competitors have to ride a mountain bike as fast as they can along the bottom of a bog, a 2-meter deep water-filled trench. As if that wasn't hard enough, the bikes that they use have lead-filled frames, the tires are filled with water, and the competitors wear lead weight belts so that they don't float off of their bikes. A bloodhound who hunts by scent only can follow the scent of blood that's several days old. Male hippos size one another up by opening their mouth up to 150 degrees, stretching it up to 1.5 meters in length. The game Hungry Hungry Hippos isn't just a game, it's science. In Japan, you can buy a pyramid-shaped watermelon. They go for the low price of $500 each. There is a Play-Doh scented cologne. I can't make that up. Schmaltz Brewing and Barcade have collaborated to create a pastrami-flavored Pilsner. Am I the only one that thinks that sounds disgusting? It's a beer made with authentic pastrami notes, including ingredients like a pinch of kosher salt, a dash of pepper, and smoke. Okay, no thanks. NFL player Tom Brady became the first player ever to win 4 Super Bowl Most Valuable Player awards after the Patriots won Super Bowl 51. A company based in London, England called Little Riot has created a product called Pillow Talk. It's a wristband that picks up your heartbeat and sends it in real time to your loved one. It allows you to hear their heartbeat in your pillow, and they can hear yours in theirs. That sounds great in theory, but it's also a little creepy. According to a study done in 2013 by the Karolinska Institute and Stockholm University's Stress Research Institute in Sweden, which tested sensitivity to sounds immediately after a few minutes of artificially induced stress, stress makes exhausted women oversensitive to sounds. Even the normal decibel levels of a conversation can sometimes seem painfully loud. There's a website called pinstruck.com where you can anonymously put a voodoo curse on anyone. Please don't pick me, just saying. All you need is to fill out the description of what they look like, fill out their email, and the service does the rest. The Hubble Space Telescope travels around the Earth, taking pictures of the stars, planets, and galaxies at about 7,600 meters per second. Back in Gregorian times, people would apply something called fard to sunburned faces and acne breakouts. It was a mixture of sweet almond oil, spermaceti, which is a wax waxy substance found in the head of a sperm whale, and honey. It was dissolved over heat, and once it had cooled, it was applied to the face and left on overnight. Okay, that sounds wrong. It's nasty. Whale poop freshens the air that we breathe. Whales transport vital nutrients to the warm surface waters every time that they poop. That's where phytoplankton use the nutrients to photosynthesize and produce oxygen. So essentially, every breath you take is thanks to the pooping whales. Ooh. During World War II, the United States Playing Card Company joined forces with American and British intelligence agencies to create a very special deck of cards. This deck was created to help prisoners of war escape from German POW camps. The deck was called the Map Deck. They were made by hiding maps of top secret escape routes between the two paper layers that make up regular playing cards. Except when these were soaked in water, these decks could be peeled apart to reveal hidden maps that allowed escaping prisoners to find their way to safety. According to the Literacy Project Foundation, 45 million Americans are functionally illiterate and cannot read above a 5th grade level, and 50% of adults cannot read a book written at an 8th grade level. Construction of the world's tallest dam began on July 13, 2015 in China. The dam in the Dadu River will be 314 meters high. Construction is expected to be completed in 2022. Attorney and MIT alum Philip Wiedner has built what is called the Goose Creek Tower and what the locals call the Dr. Seuss House in Alaska. It started out as a 12 by 12 meter log cabin, but he kept building log cabin after log cabin on top of each other. The log cabins gradually get smaller, and the tower has reached almost 55 meters tall. And the only reason that he stopped was because federal airspace starts at 61 meters. Japan is building a vertical forest. The Nanjing Vertical Forest is scheduled to be fully built by 2018 and will bring thousands of trees and shrubs into the highly populated Puku district of the city. The forest will absorb CO2 and produce oxygen at the same time. It's a pair of towers, one reaching 200 meters and the second one reaching 100 meters high, completely covered in greenery. Adolf Hitler's telephone, recovered from the Führer bunker and kept in a box at an English country house since 1945, was sold at auction in the United States in late February 2017 for $243,000. Would I pay that? 9. There is a phone booth on a hilltop overlooking the Pacific Ocean and Otsuchi town in northeastern Japan called the Wind Phone. It's there to connect family members to their loved ones who were lost in the 2011 earthquake and tsunami that hit the coastline of Japan. There is a 1.5 meter long orange alligator in a pond in Hanahan, South Carolina that locals are calling Trumpagator. As of January 2016, Steve Jobs has won 141 patents since his death in 2011. Out of a total of 458 patents filed by Apple, around 1/3 of them were filed by Steve Jobs himself. Most of them were related to the design of Apple products. The Girl Scouts were founded by Juliette Gordon Low on March 12, 1912 in Savannah, Georgia. As of today, there are 2.7 million Girl Scouts, 1.9 million girl members, and 800,000 adult members. In 2017, the Islamabad High Court in Pakistan's capital issued an order that banned the celebration of Valentine's Day across the country. Israel has the most museums per capita in the world, with more than 200 across the country. The phrase paying through the nose can be traced all the way back to the Vikings. It used to be a Viking punishment of slitting the nose from tip to eyebrow of anyone who refused to pay tax. These are hybrid bears called Pisleys and growler bears. They're a cross between a polar bear and a grizzly bear. They're called Pisleys if the father is a polar bear and growler bears if the father is a grizzly. There's such a thing as rivers in the sky. They're called atmospheric rivers. Atmospheric rivers are weather systems that move high concentrations of water vapor outside the tropics and can bring strong winds and floods. According to a new study released on February 13th, 2017 by Netflix, nearly half of streaming couples around the world have cheated on their significant other by watching a show ahead of them without their knowledge. One of the reasons that the Pentagon is so short is because of the steel shortage due to the war. The building was built primarily using 332,581 cubic meters of reinforced concrete, a lot of which was from the grounds around the Pentagon itself. When Kleenex tissues were first introduced to the public in 1924, they were intended to be used with cold cream to remove makeup and clean the face. The clean in the name represented that physical clean, and the X was tied into the company's other popular and successful product at the time, Kotex. There are snakes found in rainforests in Southeast Asia that are able to fling themselves from trees and elegantly fly through the air. They are capable of changing their body shape to generate the aerodynamic forces needed to fly. Domino's Pizza has a wedding registry where you can purchase different e-cards for some lucky couple. Some examples that they offer are a $25 gift of pizza called the post-honeymoon adjustment to real life because washing the dishes is the worst. Then there's the $15 married but chill option. I want pizza now, I'm hungry. Writer, actor, and comedian Dan Aykroyd has a form of autism called Asperger's. One of his symptoms was having an obsession with ghosts and law enforcement. This is what led to the idea of the Ghostbusters film. Famous designer Hugo Boss not only made Nazi uniforms, but he was also part of the Nazi Party. Venus is referred to as Earth's sister planet because of the number of things that it has in common with Earth. It's a terrestrial planet and also orbits within our sun's habitable zone. In ancient Greece, during the Olympics, a truce was called so that athletes and spectators could travel safely. The truce was initially there for 1 month, but in later centuries it was extended to 3. No wars were permitted and no arms could be carried. There's an annual tradition called Las Bolas de Fuego, or Balls of Fire, held every August 31st in El Salvador, where 2 groups of young people throw flaming balls of old cloth and wire that are soaked in gas at each other. This dangerous event has been happening since 1922. In 2013, Burger King tried to make its French fries healthier by introducing Satis Fries, a low-calorie alternative. But customers preferred the full-fat version, and Burger King killed off the item in 2014. 25% of US presidents lost their fathers either at a young age or in their teens from death, divorce, or abandonment. Many of them were cared for and raised by single mothers and grandparents. The Weinstepan Brewery, located in a small town just north of Munich, has been brewing beer non-stop for almost 1,000 years, withstanding 4 fires, 3 plagues, and a major earthquake. Well, somebody definitely loves beer. There are 293 different combinations to make change for $1. Green patches in potatoes indicates the presence of chlorophyll, which also means that there's a concentration of a harmful toxin called solanine. So when you see these green patches, you should cut them out entirely and discard them. Don't just be biting into raw potatoes because you're gonna get sick. Before Super Bowl 51, Zoo Atlanta in the Roger Williams Park Zoo in Providence, Rhode Island, made a bet that if their team lost, they would name a baby animal after the winning team's quarterback. Since the New England Patriots beat the Atlanta Falcons, Zoo Atlanta named a Madagascar hissing cockroach Tom Brady. In Margate, England, there's a series of underground passageways covered in millions of seashells. The Margate Grotto was discovered in 1835, but it's still unknown how old the grotto really is or who built it. The larvae of the Middle Eastern Epimus beetles socialize in killing frogs, salamanders, and other amphibians that try to eat them. They lure in their prey, encouraging them to approach, and strike with double-hooked jaws, hanging on and eating the prey alive. There's a robotic coffee brewing kiosk called Cafe X that opened in February of 2017 in downtown San Francisco. The drinks are served by barista bots, which are robotic arms designed by Mitsubishi and are the first of their kind in the United States. Zzz, I said low on the milk, no more milk! The Great Sphinx of Giza was constructed out of a single chunk of soft limestone bedrock. It stands over 20 meters high, almost 74 meters long, and over 19 meters wide. Researchers from MIT have created a new material that's actually stronger than graphene. It's 10 times stronger than steel with only 5% of its density. There is a 6,410 square meter indoor farm in Newark, New Jersey that's the world's largest indoor farm. Aero farms are able to grow crops without soil, sunlight, and nearly no water. They use 95% less water than conventional outdoor farms. According to a study published in 2015 by a University at Albany team in the journal Analytical Chemistry, gender can now be determined from the concentration of amino acids that are found in a fingerprint. As it turns out, women have more amino acids than men. In December of 2016, the oldest known breeding wild bird, Wisdom the albatross, laid an egg at the Midway Atoll National Wildlife Refuge in Hawaii at the ripe old age of 66. In northwest Poland, there's a forest of about 400 pine trees that grow with a 90-degree bend at the base of their trunks before rising vertically again. This collection of crooked trees has been named the Crooked Forest. In California's Sierra Nevada mountains, there's a group of blind millipedes that glow in the dark. The millipedes give off a neon teal color and have a special type of protein that allows them to produce light from beneath the tough cuticle that covers their bodies. President Jimmy Carter installed 32 solar panels on the White House roof when he was president in the late 1970s. When Ronald Reagan took office in 1981, he had them removed because he thought it was a joke. Then, when President Obama moved in, he had all the solar panels reinstalled. Oranges are actually green in warm climates. Most green oranges are perfectly ripe and need no more ripening. In fact, they are actually on their way to being rotten when they're turning orange. Zoos have begun raising puppies and cheetah kittens together to help combat the cheetah's stress and focus their wild energy. Our fingers don't contain any muscles to facilitate movement. Movement, like flexing and curling our fingers, is actually made possible by specific actions of the tendons, bones, and muscles that are found in the palm of our hands. There's something called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or the Pacific Trash Vortex, where there is a collection of garbage in the North Pacific Ocean. It spans waters from the west coast of North America all the way to Japan. It's made of tiny particles of plastic that never degrade. Venus rotates very slowly, taking over 243 Earth days to complete a single rotation. It has the slowest rotation period of any planet. Dogs can have a disorder called canine compulsive disorder, or CCD, which is characterized by excessive repetition of an action or behavior and can vary depending on the context. CCD is similar to human compulsive disorders and is likely to be a coping mechanism for when the dog sees a situation as stressful. According to a survey done in February of 2017 by Venezuela's Living Conditions, almost 75% of the population lost an average of at least 8.6 kilograms in 2016 due to a lack of proper nutrition because of the economic crisis. The Earth receives 174 petawatts of solar radiation at the upper atmosphere. 30% of that is reflected back to space, and the rest is absorbed by clouds, oceans, and land masses. Magiricophobia is the fear of cooking. I definitely have this. I stick to craft dinner. It can take many forms and is extremely common, although it is only considered a phobia when it's severe enough to interfere with daily life. Dermatoglyphia is an extremely rare genetic disorder in which people are born without fingerprints. The finger pads of people with this condition are entirely flat and don't have the arching or looping ridges of fingerprints that virtually all other humans do. There's a McDonald's in Marino, Italy, where you can have your meal and also check out an ancient Roman road at the same time. The road, built between the 2nd and 1st centuries BC, was discovered in 2014 when the McDonald's was being built. The road was excavated, documented, and enclosed in a gallery with a glass roof so that patrons of the restaurant can look down on it. 1 year after the Brooklyn Bridge opened in 1883, circus performer P.T. Barnum led 21 elephants across it to prove the bridge's strength. A woman from Michigan named Barbara Soper gave birth to her 3 children on 080808, 090909, and 101010 respectively. The odds of this happening are 50 million to 1. That blob of toothpaste in the shape of a wave on your toothpaste box is called a nurdle. In the tech world, the word Yahoo followed by an exclamation point stands for yet another hierarchical officious oracle. In 1994, David Philo and Jerry Yang used the term to name their internet search engine. Chess boxing is a hybrid sport combining the mental battle of chess and the physical struggle of boxing. Players have to learn how to balance their strategy on the chessboard with their plan of attack in the boxing match. The Voynich manuscript is a handwritten book of 246 pages and many illustrations in approximately 170,000 characters. But the script in the book is completely unknown and illegible, meaning that no one has ever been able to read it or decipher it. Bobby Leach was the second person to ever go over Niagara Falls in a barrel. He actually survived the stunt, but died ironically 15 years later while walking down a street in Auckland, New Zealand. He slipped on an orange peel, fell down, and broke his leg. After infection set in, the leg had to be amputated and he died in surgery. Germany put the world's first hydrogen-powered zero-emission train into service in 2017. The non-electric network trains are powered using a hydrogen fuel cell and only emit steam and water. Residents of a village named Hopeman in Scotland have been posing as police officers using speed guns by arming themselves with hair dryers and reflective vests to combat speeding drivers. The Rafflesia arnoldi plant is the biggest individually produced flower in the world. It gets to be over 91 centimeters across and weighs almost 11 kilograms. Nepalese climber Pemba Dorje is a Sherpa who holds the record for the fastest ascent of Mount Everest. He climbed Everest in only 8 hours and 10 minutes in 2004.